Hello, my name is Jennifer Drummond. I'm a NASA JPL Solar System Ambassador, usually to Michigan, but of course coming to you online today. And we are going to talk about some Earth science. Types of rocks. That's today's lesson. There are three basic types of rocks. Igneous, which is from volcanoes. Metamorphic, which are rocks that became other rocks. And sedimentary, which are rocks formed by sediment and compression. So let's start with igneous. Igneous rocks are formed when molten rock material solidifies. Molten rock is when rock is so hot that it is a liquid and not solid anymore. And there are two types of molten rock. Magma, which is when the molten rock is inside a volcano or under the Earth's surface. And lava, which is the same molten rock once it comes out from the volcano, whether by eruption or a slow lava flow or anything that causes it to come out and be above the Earth's surface and touching the air. Because there are two kinds of molten rock, that means there are two kinds of igneous rocks. Magma makes intrusive igneous rock, and lava makes extrusive igneous rock. Here are some common igneous rocks that we humans use all the time. Granite, we build with it. Pumice, probably heard of pumice stone. And obsidian, which is an extrusive igneous rock that cooled down so fast that it became extremely smooth and clear, black, but clear. It's a glass, is what we're trying to say. Intrusive, extrusive, and then a rapid cooled extrusive becomes glass. Also dolerite, which is not shown here, but will come up later. Class 2, or type 2, I should say, metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks are rocks that changed under extreme heat, extreme pressure, extreme chemical processes, one or more of these things. So metamorphic is a word for something that has gone through a metamorphosis. And a metamorphosis means changing from one thing into something completely different. There are two types of metamorphic rocks, but we're not going to learn about them today, so don't worry. Here are some common metamorphic rocks that humans use a lot. Slate, marble, you should know marble. We love to make statues out of it and very smooth countertops or elaborate, beautiful art. And lapis, which a lot of people actually think is a gemstone, but it turns out it is a metamorphic rock. And what's really unique about that is that it's blue. Blue rocks just don't really happen at all, except for lapis. All right, our third type, sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are formed when objects settle to the bottom of something, whether that's waterways, so oceans, lakes, or whatever, solid things settle out of the water on the bottom, or it can even settle out of air if you have some kind of a basin that the air can drop and catch things from the air, and then they layer on top of each other, whether it's water or air, and end up getting compacted down until they cement together and form a rock. Sedimentary rocks are the most common type of rock found on the Earth's surface. There are three types of sedimentary rocks, but we're not going to learn about them today either. So, lots of common sedimentary rocks. Here are three that humans depend on, we use every day. Coal, we burn coal for electricity, for heat, all the time. Iron ore is what we mine iron out of for that metal that we use to build with and make cookware with, make just lots of things that need to be super strong. It is, and we turn it into a metal. And then, of course, flint, which you may have heard of. Primitive man used flint stones to help start fires when they were using twigs and sticks and things. Flint stones worked a lot better than trying to rub two sticks together to create fire. Some other sedimentary rocks that we use a lot, limestone, sandstone, which you probably have heard of, and halite, which you probably haven't heard of, but that is rock salt. Salt that we get actually comes from rocks. Let's see. So, what are some rocks that you know? There are many famous rocks around the world. Most of them are what we call monoliths. A monolith is one single huge, massive rock. So here's an example. You can see right there, the heads on Easter Island are all sculpted. Each one is a monolith that got sculpted into a face, a head. And the monolith for the heads on Easter Island are made of tuff. Tuff is an extrusive igneous rock. So it comes from the lava from the volcano on Easter Island. Here are some other famous rocks. And because they're monoliths, they're pretty much famous. Of course, Stonehenge now is not just one rock, but each rock in Stonehenge is a monolith, and humans moved all of them to be together in that one place. And the rocks, the monoliths are either dolerite, like I mentioned earlier, or sandstone. Then there's the Rock of Gibraltar. So you can see in this picture over here, this huge, massive one rock, it is limestone. But if you look closely at that picture, you can see at the bottom, that is a city. And those aren't just little houses, those are tall buildings. So now think of the tall buildings in cities near you. And now think of how much taller, massive, enormous the Rock of Gibraltar is to tower over that city so much that it looks like almost nothing at the base of it. Crazy huge. And then Australia, I'm trying to pronounce this correctly, Uluru, I think that's how it's pronounced, which is one huge giant sandstone. Looks kind of pretty there. So, what are your favorite rocks? Now, most of the time, when this question is asked, people will answer with a gemstone. But gemstones are not rocks. A gemstone is a mineral, and each gemstone is made of one specific kind of mineral. Minerals are not made of rocks. It's actually the other way around. Rocks are made of two or more minerals together. Sometimes people answer their favorite rock is a fossil. Fossil is also not a rock. It is the preserved remains of an animal or a plant. But fossils are always found in rocks. So let's talk about specific favorite rocks that I have heard of recently. Diamond, everybody knows about diamond. So diamond is a gemstone, therefore it is not a rock, it's a mineral. But it is always found in a rock called kimberlite. Kimberlite is an intrusive igneous rock. So from the inside of a volcano. Turquoise is another gemstone, mineral, not a rock. It is found in either igneous or sedimentary rocks. And quartz, very common. People love it, especially because it has that nice crystal structure. It can be many different colors. Again, it's a mineral, not a rock. But quartz can grow in all three types of rocks. So quick fun fact here. Ruby and sapphire are two other gemstones people tend to say. They're beautiful, right? Red and blue, this deep blue, this gorgeous red. Turns out they are actually not just gemstones, but the same gemstone. They are both corundum. Corundum is naturally clear, like a diamond. What causes the colors is when an impurity, something very, very teeny tiny amount of some other mineral, just what we call a trace amount, gets in the corundum, and that changes the color. So red gets in, and that's what we call a ruby. When blue gets in, we call that a sapphire. But it can be any color. There are corundums that are yellow, orange, even black. It's called a black sapphire. Green, the whole spectrum. So just your fun fact there. Fossils. So again, not actually rocks, but they are embedded in rocks. Animal fossils, you can see there. A little further over, seashells embedded in rocks. And then, of course, I'm going to mention, because we're from Michigan, Petoskey stone. And we love Petoskey stone here. That is actually a fossil and a stone together. It is fossilized coral in limestone, only found in Michigan. Lastly, geodes. Yes, geodes are in fact rocks. They are hollow rocks. And so what happens with a geode is you have a rock that was formed somehow with a bubble or a chamber in the center that made it hollow. And then crystals of minerals grow inside it. And that's what we call a geode. Lots of times it's quartz that have grown inside the rock. Geodes form in igneous and sedimentary rocks. So the different, you can see there's purple, there's blue, and then just at the end, a bunch of different quartz minerals, not rocks. But so depending on what type of rock the geode formed in, what type of rock that outer shell is of the geode, helps determine what the inside will look like, what crystals are growing in there. So that's all for today's lesson. Next time we will talk about the rock cycle. Have a great day and thank you for joining me.